Disclaimer. This video's information is being provided for informational, educational, and general interest purposes only. The information in this video is not intended to shock, enrage, or otherwise provoke the viewer. The sole purpose of this video was to raise awareness of true crime-related events. Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
What's up? What's going on?
I'm listening to pretty much shirts off.
Yeah, doing good.
The trouble now, right?
Uh-huh.
So what's
Nah, just day after my birthday, I just took a shot, and I was trying to go where I was going.
Stay with me.
Uh-huh.
So you said you want to talk to one of us?
I just said, like, if my name get run, it take away, it ain't nothing, ain't nothing I can tell you. I bring you right down. But once I go through the system, it's a wrap. You know what I'm saying?
So how it works is, if Highway Patrol has you under arrest or DUI or whatever charges they have you under arrest for, they have to do their part. After you do the arrest, I can do my part. Okay?
Yeah, I just had a few shots.
Any money, narcotics, anything like that, not including your DUI, I can never do. Okay?
But I wasn't, I had the alcohol, but I ain't drunk.
Okay.
That's what I say.
You don't want to tell me how much to do.
Yeah.
I'm just curious where that amount of money came from. Did they find any drugs or anything in the car?
Just edibles.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if he's arresting you for DUI or whatever charges you have with Highway Patrol, they'll take you to the jail, and then tomorrow, one of us, either me or my partner, will come and serve you some warrants in the morning, and that's where we'll give you our number, we'll talk to you, and explain how we can help you as far as your charges go. Okay?
Alright.
So, see my face? It's gonna be me or my partner that's up there. Maybe one of us will come and talk to you tomorrow at the jail. And we'll give you some numbers and stuff. And we're gonna expect you to call us when you get out so we can help you with the charges, okay?
I don't know what y'all gonna do.
Explain it to you right now, okay?
First of all, I'm not drunk. That's the thing.
Well, I don't have anything to do with the DUI.
Yeah, they ain't give me no sobriety. They just tell me to move my eyes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
they have tests and stuff they can do.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to do with that DUI, okay? Or whatever charges they have. I don't have anything to do with that.
yeah, just once I'm in there, it's ain't nothing I can talk to nobody about. Once I'm in, that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, but
Yeah.
just because you go to jail and you're charged with it doesn't mean those charges have to stay with you. You're able to help you out with those charges, okay?
I've been in feds. I've been in feds for a long time, so I did time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So I did time, so I know the rules. Yeah, but like I'm
So
saying,
you
like
probably understand what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying now, but like it's on my wrist.
Kind of turn a little bit inside.
Yeah, but I just say once I'm in there.
Either way, one of us got to come talk to you in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay?
I know, but like if I go in there tonight, ain't nothing I can help nobody about because everybody know I went to jail. You understand? So I had money on me. As a few people know I had money on me, so once they know I went, it just ain't nothing.
We'll explain what we can do for you. And,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? We'll talk about it at a different time when you're sitting up here, okay?
Yeah.
Alright, let me go to the drink one time, okay?
Alright.
Yeah, please.
What's your emergency? On July 29, 2021, John Holliday turned onto Pearson Road and drove right into the center of a roadblock set up by the South Carolina Highway Patrol. Corporal James Welsh was the first trooper Holliday encountered. Welsh claimed to have smelled marijuana and alcohol on Holliday and had told him to exit his vehicle. Trooper Will Baker, a different patrolman, led Holliday to the front of his vehicle, which had a dash camera recording. "All right, Mr. Holliday, how much have you had to drink?" Baker asked. Holliday answered, "Half of that cup." Baker was seen in the video placing a red plastic cup on the patrol car's front end. Welsh, who has a good eye for suspected drunk drivers, asked Baker to administer sobriety tests to Holliday at the roadside. Welsh was named the South Carolina Highway Patrol's Trooper 1, Trooper of the Year for DUI arrests in 2015. In 2019, he was given the title once more. In order to get Holliday's car off the road, Welsh gets inside it, though the video doesn't show it. Trooper Baker starts testing Holliday after receiving a radio message from Welsh that ends the test. Welsh said into the radio, "Watch him real close and make sure he doesn't," inaudible. "All right, ma'am." Baker approaches Holliday right away and says, "What I want you to do, put your hands behind your back for me for a second, okay?" In the video, Baker is seen reading the man his rights after making an arrest. 2 bags of cash were found in the back of the car, and Welsh later confirmed what he had discovered inside, a bag of edible marijuana on the front seat. Baker was seen walking Holliday to the front of the patrol car so he could be patted down on the dash camera. As he looked through the man's pockets, Baker remarked, "You've got money in every pocket, man." Baker places Holliday in the front passenger seat of his patrol car, but there is no footage of him taking any money out of the car. Baker's second in-car camera, which records footage of the interior of the vehicle, was activated by troopers. Afterwards, Baker calculated that Holliday had $6,000 or $8,000 in his pockets. "Hey, bud. You know you're under arrest for driving under the influence, okay? All right? I found a large sum of currency in your car and narcotics. You have any comment on that?" Welsh asked Holliday from outside the passenger side window. Holliday answered. You don't? You don't have a good reason why you have that much money. You know about how much it is?" Holliday answered again. Troops are gathered around the cash in the dash camera recording, attempting to guess its value. One trooper speculated that it might be a couple $100,000. Holliday sat handcuffed in the front of the car, and he could see the patrolman talking away. Holliday started pounding on the floorboards in an attempt to get their notice. Holliday was prepared to negotiate. "Yes, sir," the trooper who walked to Holliday's window said. "I'll tell ya, if it gets reported, I can't help nobody," Holliday tells the trooper. "If you get reported, you can't help nobody?" "What you mean?" the trooper asks. "Telling you what I know," Holliday answered. "What you know," the trooper replied. "I can't do that once I go through the system," Holliday responded. Corporal Cam Welsh was informed of Holliday's conversation by the trooper. The trooper informs Welsh, he said he can't help nobody if he goes in the system. Welsh approaches Holliday to get clarification. When Welsh questioned Holliday about previous charges, the man acknowledged having been charged way back, but he did not specify the specific charge. Welsh informs Holliday that the patrol requested the arrival of the Sumner County Sheriff's drug squad to question Holliday. Holliday said to Welsh that he didn't know how much money he had inside the car, but he thought he had between $70,000 and $80,000. Welsh only learned that the money belonged to someone else from Holliday. That's all. Despite their best efforts, troopers were unable to get Drug Enforcement Administration agents to the scene. The patrol later verified that Holliday's currency and drug investigation was taken up by the DEA. To speak with Holliday, the patrolman summoned the drug squad of the Sumner County Sheriff to the scene. 3 agents who were not dressed in uniform for law enforcement are seen on the dash camera footage arriving during the stop and examining the evidence taken from Holliday's vehicle. The patrol recognized the 3 as narcs from the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. In the video, Holliday is seen talking with a female agent who approaches the patrol car window. Talk soon shifted to how the sheriff's deputies could assist Holliday. After leaving Holliday, the agents return on foot to the troopers. The agent never took up the drug case and didn't seem to take any of the evidence with them. Holliday was only charged with 2 crimes from that evening, according to court documents: manufacturing or possessing narcotics with the intent to distribute and driving while intoxicated. The charge from July 2021 is listed as Holliday's 3rd or subsequent offense on the arrest warrant. the Sumner County Sheriff's Office did not file any charges. Both charges are listed as pending in Sumner County, and Holliday has not been indicted either. John Holliday was driven away from the roadblock and taken to jail by Trooper Will Baker. Holliday was charged with DUI by Baker. Corporal Cam Welsh and a fellow trooper proceeded with gathering evidence related to Holliday's vehicle while Baker was away. Welsh later claimed to have taken 3 bags of cash out of Holliday's vehicle, including the 2 bags troopers had discovered inside the vehicle and a clear plastic evidence bag Welsh had used to gather additional cash from Holliday's console. Welsh returned to the Troop 1 Sumner office after loading the bags into the back of his patrol car. Welsh made sure he recorded his journey on video while he was by himself with the evidence by turning on his own in-car camera. Welsh received a call from Trooper Baker from inside the jail while he was riding to work. In a phone conversation with Baker during Welsh's trip to the office, Baker was instructed to stuff it in an evidence bag and make sure you keep your recorder on in your car. Baker had to make sure he handled the money from Holliday's pockets correctly. "Just leave it on so there won't ever be any question about anything with that money," Welsh said in the call. "I've never had this much currency where I'm dealing with it myself, so I just want to make sure nobody's saying we're doing any funny stuff." Welsh arrived at the patrol office ahead of schedule. Subsequently, he informed investigators that he took the cash bags from his patrol car's rear and brought them into the troop office. At the roadblock, Welsh packed 3 bags into his car, but he only brought 2 bags into the office. Corporal Matthew Nix, an evidence technician with the South Carolina Highway Patrol, also traveled to the patrol office that evening to greet the troopers. Nix was supposed to return the money to the patrol's central evidence facility in Columbia and ensure that each and every dollar that was taken in was accurately counted. After dividing the money into different denominations, the troopers stacked the bills so they could quickly count the total amount in dollars. There were 4,899 bills on the tally sheet the troopers made that evening, and each one needed to be accounted for. According to patrol policy, Nix was supposed to conduct a second count after the troopers completed their first. Before Nix could take the money and run, the counts had to match. However, that did not occur. Nix and Welsh counted for hours before leaving the patrol office. They found 4,899 bills totaling $110,482. Nix took the money to the CEF and secured it in a safe after putting it into 3 different evidence bags. The money was taken to the bank on August 3rd by a forfeiture division patrolman so that it could be counted and a cashier's check made payable to the federal government. The bank discovered a $3,140 difference between the amount that actually existed and what the troopers and Nix claimed on their tally sheet after conducting 3 separate counts using automated currency counting machines. On that day, Nix was summoned to his captain's office, marking the beginning of the process of initiating a criminal investigation.
There's a table, let's go to the far right of the table, there's a chair down there. Good morning. Like I just introduced myself, my name is Jacqueline Goss. I work with the State Law Enforcement Division. Today's date is August 9th and the time is approximately 9:34. Now, before we get started, there's a form that I need to go over with you per our policy. Since this is an investigation, I'm going to go through it with you, and as I go through these blocks, if you would initial, if you understand those, okay? All right, I understand this is an investigation to determine whether any criminal laws have been violated. I understand and acknowledge that this is not an internal administrative or disciplinary inquiry. I understand and acknowledge that I have not been compelled or coerced to give a statement or answer any questions regarding this matter. I understand and acknowledge that my cooperation with this investigation is freely and voluntarily given. All right, where it says sign, if you would please sign your name for me. All right, if you would please state your first name for me
Matthew
and your middle name.
Raymond.
Will you spell that for me?
Raymond.
All right, and your last name?
Nix, Nix.
What's your date of birth? Do you go by Matthew or do you go by Matt?
Matt.
All right. What is a good contact number for you, Matt? All right. Can you tell me who you're currently employed with?
The South Carolina Highway Patrol.
And how long have you been with South Carolina Highway Patrol?
16 years as of this past July.
And what is your current rank?
Corporal.
In which area are you assigned to?
The Central Evidence Facility.
How long have you done that?
November will be 2 years.
Tell me a little bit about the Central Evidence Facility. What exactly is that?
We intake all evidence from all of the divisions of the Department of Public Safety, which is Highway Patrol, State Transport Police, the Bureau of Protective Services, and until recently, the Immigration Unit, which now fall under SLED.
Right.
They got taken over, so.
All right, so you're over HP, and what were the others?
Transport and BPS.
All right. So what type of evidence do you deal with?
Name it.
Just an idea of what.
Well, a lot of, mostly for like DUI evidence, blood and urine samples. We collect them, send them to SLED to get analyzed, and then when SLED gets done, they come back to us and we house them until after the court date, or until we get a closed case from the trooper itself. Any drug evidence that they seize, weapons of any sort, shape, form that are seized on the road, we house and keep. Any kind of like crash evidence from especially like the MATE team, the multidisciplinary accident investigation team, anywhere from hoods, bumpers, doors, airbags, the airbag control modules for the computer systems, stuff like that. Anything related to a crash that MATE would collect, we keep. A lot of hit and run evidence. So we have a container full of like bicycles and stuff like that from vehicle crashes. And of course, anytime there's a cash seizure. Now that the cash is not supposed to stay at CEF for any long period of time. It's just until it gets deposited into the bank. But we do have a safe to house it. So.
Okay. Where is the CEF located?
On Shop Road in Columbia.
Do you know that?
1620, I believe it is.
1620 Shop Road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So obviously we're here in regards to an investigation on a money seizure that took place.
Mm-hmm.
If you would, do you remember the day that you were contacted about the money seizure?
Thursday, July 28th. That's the right date?
Okay. So it was on a Thursday.
Right.
Kind of go through what happened.
All right. Well, let's see. Thursday, I think it was around in between 10:30 and 11 p.m. I was contacted by Lieutenant Teresa Alford with Troop 1 Highway Patrol that a money seizure had taken place in Sumter County. I was advised to give Corporal Cameron Welsh a call to get the particulars and see what direction we need to go in. I got off the phone with her, called Corporal Welsh. He advised me that there was probably close to $100,000 that they had found at a road check, along with what he described as PWID, possession with intent to distribute THC edibles.
anytime that there is a money seizure possibility, that they have to have reason, and PWID, any kind of drug, is that reason. They can't just take the money because. So, well, that's what I understand it as.
Right.
So, I advised him, he asked me if I was coming to the road to actually collect the money, and I told him no, that they need to go ahead and clean up the scene, do what they need to do, and I will meet him at the Sumter Patrol office.
Okay.
And of course, I don't know if I advised that this was actually come across at a driver's license checkpoint. It wasn't like it was a crash or traffic stop. It was at a license checkpoint.
Okay.
So anyway, I went ahead, got up, got dressed, and went on to the patrol office in Sumter. And this was probably in between 11:30, 12 when I got there that night. And when I got to the office, Corporal Welsh was there and Trooper Baker was there at the office. As soon as I got in, got all my paperwork set down, and Corporal Welsh advised me that it is a very big possibility that DEA was going to adopt this case. And I know from listening to the guy at CEF and stuff, and dealing with them on the road, when I was on the road, that usually DEA comes in that night, takes the evidence, and then that's it, we're done with it.
Do you know why he thought the DEA would be taking it? Had he spoke with anyone?
He spoke to I think it's either Lance Corporal or Trooper, I don't know his current rank, but it's Shropshire. He is affiliated with a lot, he's one of the highway patrols, what we call drug dogs. He's associated with them, knows them on a first name basis, all the DEA agents in the area. So he's familiar with the process of dealing with the DEA and taking money. And he was on the phone with Shropshire, and Shropshire told him that his contact said that they was gonna take the case. But called him back or told him later on in the conversation that the DEA was tied up at the moment, that they will be adopting this case, it just won't be tonight.
Okay.
It'll be at a later date.
And Shropshire told Welsh that, to your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so go ahead.
So in that case, we were going ahead with the cash seizure process. And Corporal Welsh advised me that Baker was technically the arresting trooper that was making all the charges to the driver. So I gave Baker a whole packet of our cash seizure paperwork. And I advised him, I don't know exactly what all you need at this point, seeing now that the feds are gonna get involved. Just fill it all out anyway, and if we don't need it, we can shred it. And it was 2 affidavits of seizure. It was what we call the ACE report, which is an aggressive criminal enforcement report. It's an old form that we use, giving details. Also a section on there where he attaches his statement. Once he does his incident report, he can put it on that same form. And then I advised Corporal Welsh that we need to go ahead and separate all the denominations of cash that was there, and then count each individual denomination and on a tally sheet, on a separate tally sheet.
Okay.
Corporal Welsh brought out the bag of cash. It was in a brown, not similar to a brown grocery bag, but it looked more like a food takeout bag. It was brown, approximately about, I don't know, 8-10 inches tall with brown paper handles and like a little zigzag design on the bag. And basically he dumped it out on the desk, and it was hundreds, 50s, 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s all intermixed together. The majority of it was rubber banded together with little small black rubber bands, not from Corporal Welsh, it was from the actual violator that had the cash, that they had banded it up. And if I'm not mistaken, it's either, honestly don't remember, I want to say it was in $10,000 increments, but it was all intermixed. It was some 150s, 20s all together. So I advised him that all of this has to be separated, so we're gonna have to unbind all of this cash and then separate the 150 and get everything straight. That took a while. Once we got everything separated, and right, let me back up. Before we started separating it, Trooper Reichert showed up. He was, if I'm not mistaken, he was at the road check waiting on the tow truck to get there and secure the vehicle before he came back to the office. So, okay, but now we're back to actually separating out the denominations. In the Sumter Patrol office, it's probably twice the size of this room, well, maybe 3 times the size of this room, but in the middle of the room, there is a long table that's probably twice as wide as this desk. And it has a partition in the middle with like a bulletin board where you can post schedules and stuff like that on it. And each side of that is another like table area. So what we did is we put all the cash out on the center table and just laid them out. Put all the hundreds at the beginning, then the 50s, and just went down the line to the dollar bills. And I advised Cam, I said, we're gonna have to count this thing. You gotta do your tally, I'm gonna do mine. So you start on this end, I'm gonna start on this end, and we'll meet in the middle somewhere and then pass each other and then keep going. So I started on the $1 bills and they started on the hundreds.
They being who?
They being Cam, Corporal Welsh, and Trooper Reichert.
Do you know his first name?
I do not. Zach, I believe. Yes, Zach Reichert.
Okay.
Baker was still, I do not know Baker's first name. He's brand new trooper. He was still on the computer doing his statement, doing the paperwork. So I started on the ones. I counted all the ones and wrote them on my tally sheet. And I started on the 5s and kept going until I got to the 20s. Within all of the cash that was laid out, the $20 bills was by far the most we had to count in number. By the time they got through with the hundreds and 50s, they had already started on the 20s and got a big portion of them counted. When I say a big, they got a pile of them counted out. I don't know how many they were. It was enough, but they were still counting the 20s. Corporal Welsh, about somewhere in the middle while they were counting the 20s, told Baker to let him type the statement because he knew the details as far as what went on, because Baker was also dealing with a violator because he was DUI and he was going through the field sobriety process and doing the breathalyzer and all that good stuff. So Cam,
That's okay. Well, you've established his first name as Cam, so
Yes.
you're good. You
Okay.
can make notes.
Okay. So Cam basically wanted to help him out with the statement because he knew more of the in-vehicle particulars that Baker did not know. This, from what I gathered, Baker was dealing with the DUI. He was not dealing with the car. He had to concentrate on him. So Cam wanted to help him out with the statement part and where the cash was, what was going on in the vehicle, and as far as that on the statement portion of it. So when Cam started typing on the computer, Baker got up and helped him Reichert make tally. I was still working on my own personal one. So I'm just trying to catch up.
No, you're good. Go
Okay.
ahead. Yeah, talk on.
Okay.
Because we're going to go back all over this, so it's all good.
Gotcha. So when I started counting, or when I got to the portion where I was going to start counting 20s, I asked them which stack they had finished with. I'll start on that one. That way we're not hitting each other and messing up each other's tally. So they said, okay, we're done with these. So I took these and put them on my desk, which was separate from where they were sitting, because I wanted to not get involved with them, they not get involved with me. And I started counting. And when I got done with my stack of 20s, I said, did y'all separate these out and know how many you had here? Yes. How many do you have? I don't remember exact numbers, but we were off. And I was like, my head dropped. Because I know it took me almost an hour to count the stack of 20s that I was counting. And I said, we're already off. let's stop.
Yeah.
We got to back up and punt.
Now, you said you're off, so did they have more or less than you?
I
or
don't
you,
remember.
That's okay.
I do not remember. I just knew we were off. And I knew we had more than twice as many to go.
Right.
So we were just gonna get worse and worse and worse as we went on. So that was about the time Cam was started back counting again. So at that point, it was 3 of them counting and 1 of me counting. Okay. And it was probably getting close to, I guess about 1 a.m., 2 a.m. area. We've been there for a while counting. So Corporal Welsh and I decided, look, all right, let's figure out a way that we can stack these 20s up and try to get an accurate count, because we can't leave here until we're both in agreement that this is what we got. So what we did is basically start over on the 20s. The 100s were right, the 50s were right, the 10s were right, the 5s and the 1s were right. We were dead set on planting our flag on our numbers, on our tallies, on those denominations. So what we did is we took the whole stack of 20s and everybody grabbed some. Okay.
Everybody being who?
All 4 of us.
Okay.
And
so
we
you,
started
Cam, Baker
and Riker. So
okay.
we put all the 20s in 50 counts of 50 bills. And we had them laid out on both sides of that big long partition, on the desk on the side by the window. Well, yeah, it was by the other computer desk over here on the far side, and then the desk I was working on, we had stacks of 50 on that. And so once we got all that separated out, I think there were 2 stacks on the computer desk that were not quite at 50, and on my desk I had a short stack that wasn't quite 50.
Okay.
And then once we were in agreement that we had $50 stack, I say $50, 50, yes.
I understand what you mean.
50 bills
yes.
on each stack, we started counting stacks. And I had my cell phone calculator and I was doing the math on that. And then Cam went back and counted his 50 bill stacks. And then of course we manually counted the short stacks and got a number. And we were both in agreement at that time that I believe it was 4301 was the total amount that we had. Bills, 4,301 $20 bills.
Right.
Yes. He and I both were in agreement. We signed our tally sheets, and then I took that cash and I put it in 500 $20 increments and banded them up.
Okay.
And within that, I had some evidence bags in my little go bag that I take on seizures and stuff. That it was the largest evidence bags that we have, and 2 of the bags were full of the 20s, but nothing but 20s, and the other bag had the 100s, 50s, 10s, 5s, and 1s in it.
So you had a total of 3 bags.
3 bags.
Okay.
And again, make sure everybody was good to go. Everybody's planted their flag. That's the number we're going with. And I took that cash, put it in my patrol vehicle, and drove to Columbia, to Shop Road.
All right. So you leave Sumter, and you go to Columbia.
Yes.
Where did you place the money when you left Sumter and went to Columbia?
In my back seat.
Were the bags sealed? The evidence bags,
Yes.
were they sealed?
Yes. I signed the bag and dated it, but I did not sign the seal. Again, hindsight's always 20/20.
It's all right. So you signed actually on the front of the bag
yes,
or the back of the bag?
On the front of the bag with a date. I think at that time it was right at 3 a.m., so it would have been on the 29th, July 29th.
All right, so you place the bags in the back seat, you go to Columbia.
Yes, ma'am.
What'd you do once you got to Columbia?
Unlocked the office, logged in my computer, and printed off the evidence labels that okay, I need to back up and talk about Sergeant DeBose. We had to call her once the count was set.
This is before you left the Sumter office?
Before I left the Sumter office. I apologize.
That's okay.
Reason is we've got a new evidence system and it's all digital, okay? Baker had to make the evidence items on his report and place them into the, I guess it would be their Dropbox is what they call it, and for Sumter. Sergeant DeBose and First Sergeant McFadden are the only two people in the Sumter office that have access to the Dropbox in the evidence on our system. So we had to wake Sergeant DeBose up to get her computer to sign out that evidence, the cash, to CEF transfer location. Very, I know.
So was the money ever dropped into evidence?
No, it was never put in the Dropbox.
The Dropbox.
I had possession of it.
Right.
But the system is all digital, and it's very few codes or ways that we can move things in order for me to take it in at CEF.
So he just had to contact Sergeant DeBose and let Sergeant DeBose know, hey, listen,
Yeah.
it's
This is what
in evidence,
it's in
but
evidence.
CEF is taking it.
Yes,
Right?
yes. So once we got all that in, once I got to Columbia, I logged on my laptop, received that cache evidence out of the central evidence transfer location in the computer and put it into my possession. And then from my possession into what we call our green safe. That's our cache safe.
So instead of putting on there that you received at the Sumter, because the
Yes.
computer's already showing
Yes,
that it's gone to CEF.
yes.
Okay.
All that is timestamped too. So when Sergeant DeBose puts it in transfer location, that system knows when she did that. Okay. And then from there, basically from Sumter office to Shop Road, it's in CEF transfer location.
Okay.
In the computer. Okay. Once I get to the office, and I think it was right at 4 a.m. or close to 4 a.m. is when I went in there, checked it. Let's see, I'm trying to think how the system, the verbiage on it. Once we get it, it's check out to trooper officer, and then MR Nix, and then from MR Nix to the green safe. That's how it should have. That's how it was listed on the chain of custody in our evidence system.
Okay.
I printed off evidence labels. I think I printed off 4. I know I printed off 3 of them, maybe 4. I put one on each 20, and then one on the other evidence bag. So we got 3 bags of cash, all item 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I put another one on the outside on that brown paper bag, because I put everything back in that same brown paper bag that Cam gave me, or Cam added in at the office.
Okay. Did you take possession of the edibles?
No, at that night I did not.
Okay.
Normally what we do is just go for cash.
Okay.
They bring the whatever drug it is at a later date.
Okay. All right. So green safe, is it a term that's used for the safe that's at the CEF for the money?
Well, it's a very big, large green safe.
Okay.
It's actually green.
So what all goes in that green safe?
Green safe is any kind of course, monetary value items. If there's like some jewelry that was confiscated or found, a lot of times in the past, troopers have taken stuff like that at wreck scenes for safekeeping,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, they're still in there.
So items of monetary value.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So once you put it in the green safe, what'd you do?
Locked up and went home. And I probably got back home 5:30 a.m.-ish.
Did you have any other dealings with the money at that point?
None.
When were you contacted and it was indicated to you there was an issue?
It was Tuesday when Sergeant Allen had taken the money out of the safe, signed it, and took it straight to the bank.
Do you know Sergeant Allen's first name?
Michael.
Did he contact you?
We was at the office together on Tuesday, so I knew he was getting the money out and not count. He didn't count it.
Right.
He went, took my evidence bags that I sealed up in and took it straight to the bank, and the bank opened it and they counted it there.
Do you know what bank?
Wells Fargo?
And do you know which Wells Fargo?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Sergeant Allen handles all cash deposits.
Okay. Is that all he does?
No,
Okay.
he's the lead. At CEF, there's 3 corporals, 1 sergeant, 1 captain,
Okay.
and then an admin.
All right. But he's the only one that handles cash deposits.
He is the lead on that.
Okay.
Captain Rivers assigned that task to him, and he's the only one that deals with it.
All right. So at what point were you notified the count was wrong?
When he got back.
All right. Tell me that conversation.
He was in the captain's office, and Captain Rivers, Mendel Rivers, called me into his office, and Sergeant Allen was in there, and he advised that the bank had a different count on the 20s, that it was off. I asked how much, and he had a piece of paper on his desk with some numbers right on there, and I looked over there and saw 157. I was like, $157? He's like, no, 157 20s were off. I was like, oh, okay.
You say, what was Captain Rivers' first name?
Mendel.
Mendel?
Mendel.
Okay. All right, so realized it was 157 20s off. What happened next?
I had asked Captain Rivers, do I need to go ahead and call Cam and let him know what's going on, because he's the other signature on there, and he said go ahead. I dialed Cam's number, and as soon as Cam picked up the phone, Captain Rivers said, "Hold, time out. Let's just wait." And I told Cam, it's like, just hold tight. I'll call you back. So, and then he advised that we need to get to the bottom of this. Something's not right. How can you be off this much? So he said, let me make some phone calls. And that was pretty much the end of that conversation.
All right. What ended up happening after that?
Well, when I went back to my office, Cam actually, I think, I can't remember if he called me back or I called him. One way I spoke to Cam, and he advised me that's when he found the other bag of money in the backseat of his car. And I was kind of floored at that. This was Tuesday, and I believe he said that the cash bag that he found in his backseat was found on Sunday.
And he just said it was in a bag?
Yes, in an evidence bag.
Evidence bag?
Yes, he had put the cash in an evidence bag.
Did he indicate to you what kind of bag it was found in his backseat?
No.
Okay. But after he said he had found it on Sunday, he said he put it in the evidence bag?
No, he put it in the evidence bag that night.
From the scene?
From the scene. And from my understanding from him, that it was actually cash that was found in the center console. That the large amount of cash was found in the back seat in that brown paper bag. There was more cash found in the center console and another small amount of cash found on his person.
So that center console money was never counted at the Sumter office?
Correct.
Okay. All right, what else did he say?
He was nervous, he was upset, scared, didn't know what to do. And I said, Cam, go through your chain of command, inform your sergeant of the situation that you just told me, and get ahead of this before it starts looking worse than it already is.
Right.
I said, because our count that we had in the Sumter office is way off. That this does not help. So, from my understanding, he did. He called Sergeant DeBose, informed her what was going on, and by that afternoon, Cam was in our office at CEF to turn that cash in. Well, in the meantime, Captain Rivers had been on the phone from lunchtime until Cam got there about 3 o'clock, and Captain Rivers advised Cam to go to the Troop 1 headquarters and to his captain's office, which is Captain Chris Shelton, and then they would handle their end dealing with that amount of money.
Where's the Troop 1 office?
It's same parking lot as ours. It's just right next door.
So Shop Road?
It's the way Shop Road, if you're at the Carolina Stadium like here, our office sits for evidence and supply, like a loading dock, Troop 1 headquarters, D&B. That's how it's set up in the same like campus area.
Alright, so Rivers sent Cam to Troop 1 to talk to his captain.
Yes,
And what did you say his captain's name was?
Chris Shelton.
Were you standing there when Rivers sent Cam over to
Yes.
Troop 1?
Yes.
Do you remember what Rivers told Cam?
He needed to go to his captain's office. He said, take that bag, go to your captain's office.
So the bag that had the money in it?
Cam had it with him.
So Rivers didn't take possession of it?
No,
you said?
sir, no ma'am, not at that point. I think eventually they agreed that cash was not gonna stay in Columbia, at the Troop 1 office, that it needed to go to CEF, and I had already gone for the day, cause we worked from 8 to 4, and this was after 4 o'clock when all that took place, so I just know Captain Rivers called me back later on that afternoon about 5:30, told me to get back to Columbia and bring my truck. It's like, okay.
So the same day, on Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay. So the last time you saw Cam was when Rivers sent him to go to Shelton's office?
Yes.
Alright, and then was there any other conversations held between you and Rivers that day about the money?
The shortage money?
Yes.
No.
Okay. What about the money that was in the evidence bag that Cam says, oh, I found on Sunday?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And then you said that you got off at 4?
Yes.
What are your usual hours?
8 to 4.
8 to 4. And then you received a phone call from whom later?
Captain Rivers.
Captain Rivers called you and told you to
Yes.
bring your stuff to the office?
Well, he just said I need to come back to the office.
And the office being the CEF office?
office.
And that was around 5:30?
We start football practice at 6, and we was fixing to walk out on the field, so sometime between 5:30 and 6 p.m. Yeah, I was already at the school, fixing to walk out on the football field, and Captain Rivers called and said, go change clothes, come back to Columbia. We got some more paperwork to do.
Tell me what happens when you get back to CEF.
When I get back to CEF, I go in, as captain has already locked up the building, because CEF closes at 5. All right, let me back up again. CEF is open from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. If you're not on call, you work 8 to 4. If you were on call, you work 9 to 5. You're the closer.
Okay.
When that cash was seized on the 28th, the week prior, I was on call, so I would have been the one closing. But seeing how it was a new week, I was off call. We go from Sunday to Sunday. On Tuesday, I was an 8 to 4 man. We left at 4. The 9 to 5 guy, I think it was, I don't know, I think Philip Odom was the one on call that particular week, the day or whatever. He leaves at 5. Captain Rivers was still there.
Okay.
He had been dealing with this pretty much that whole afternoon. Captain Rivers had gone ahead and closed up shop, locked the doors, and he was in his office alone. Nobody else was there. And when I got there, I went in. He advised me that this has become a full-blown investigation through OPR, that SLED would more than likely be involved, seeing how dealing with this cash, that they wanted an outside agency, so to speak, to handle. He said, as of right now, you are put on suspension without pay until the investigation is complete. Give me a form signed by Director Woods explaining that same situation. and he advised that I needed to, you know, get my personal stuff out of my vehicle. I needed to turn in my badge and gun, my credentials, that he would be securing all that stuff, and he was gonna take me back to my residence, where to he would collect uniforms and the other equipment that I had, and here we are. And so Captain Rivers took me from this central evidence back to Bishopville to my residence.
All on Tuesday.
All on Tuesday afternoon.
Have you talked to Cam since?
I spoke to him, I believe it was Tuesday night, no, it may have been Wednesday. I checked my phone to see, I don't know exactly. He was just, I think it may have been, it was Tuesday night, cause I guess, from my understanding talking to him, man, he pretty much got the same treatment, you know. They bring you, we'll take you home from Columbia and collect your stuff.
Did y'all discuss anything about any of the money increments, whether it be the county at Sumter office or the money that was found in the backseat of his car?
No. He did not realize that I got put on suspension along with him. He seemed to be upset about it, but both of our names is on a piece of paper, so what are they gonna do? They got to.
When did Cam find out you, whenever you talked to him?
When he called me, he said, well, I guess I get a couple days off. I said, me too. He's like, what? I said, yeah. It's under investigation. Our name's on a piece of paper. They have to do this.
You said he was upset about that for them suspending you as well?
Yeah.
Why was he upset about that?
Well, he just didn't realize, he thought it was mainly because of the cash that was found in his backseat, not about the whole cash being short.
Did he have any knowledge of how short it was?
I told him that it was off 157 $20 bills.
And what did he say?
It's pretty much the same thing I said. What?
Yeah. All right, we'll start from the beginning, okay?
All right.
Is there anything else you could think of? Obviously, there'll be a point at the end of the interview where I'll ask you if there's anything you want to add. But just so we can make sure, because I know that you've had to go back a couple of times, I just want to kind of make sure we've got everything completely understood.
I think we're good for
Okay.
now. Of course,
Yeah.
there's probably something else.
That's okay. You said so on Thursday you were contacted, and she actually called you,
Called my work cell phone.
Lieutenant
Yes.
Alford. You said
Yes.
Teresa, right?
Teresa Alford.
She called you to let you know about the large money seizure.
Mhm.
You ended up talking to Corporal Cam Welsh.
Mhm.
Said it was approximately over $100,000
Mhm.
with some edibles, a license checkpoint. Do you by chance know where that road check was?
No, not on.
You told me you'd meet him at the Sumter office?
Mhm.
When you told him to meet you at the Sumter office, at that point, had he indicated to you how the money was packaged or anything of that nature?
He said it looks like it's in a large Olive Garden bag. Olive Garden takeout bag. That's what it looked like.
Did he indicate to you where that large Olive Garden bag was taken? Where was that in the vehicle?
Back seat. He did say plain view several times as far as the money and the edibles, so he wanted to make sure he indicated that they didn't go ripping the car apart over, I don't know.
Right. But so he only indicated one large bag in the back seat, one Olive Garden bag
Mhm.
in the back seat. All right. Let's see here. You might have told me that the Sumter. Where is the Sumter office?
Exact street address I don't know right off. It's off of Highway 378, outbound toward the beach, next to the is it Pike Road, I think.
Is there a different post or different?
It's Troop 1 Post A. I think they're Post A. It's either A or B. But it's the Sumter Clarendon Patrol Office.
Okay. So you get to the office about 11:30, 12.
Mm-hmm.
You said Kim Welsh and Baker
Mm-hmm.
were there. Welsh indicated to you that he had talked to High Patrol Lance Corporal Shropshire. He's the one that has a lot of dealings with DEA as far as large seizures. Indicated that DEA would potentially be taking the case, but they were tied up with something right then.
Yes.
Later on, Shropshire talked to Welsh and said that they would be taking the case.
We'll be taking it, but be picking up the cash later, that we should proceed.
Okay. Welsh told you that Baker was the arresting officer and Baker was dealing with the potential DUI suspect. You gave him a packet for cash seizure. Inside that packet there were 2 affidavit of seizures, an ACE report, and also another form for him to fill out for the arresting officer to fill out the statement. Did Kim start filling that packet out right then, or Baker did? Okay. You decided to separate each denomination of money. You said that there were hundreds, 50s, 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s.
Yes.
When Welsh brought out the bag, you described it as a brown paper bag, 8-10 inches tall. He dumped the money out on the table. You said that there were a majority of the monies were banded with black rubber bands, and it looked like it might be in $10,000 increments. How did you know it looked like? I mean, have you ever seen $10,000 banded money before?
Cam counted a few of them just to check.
Okay. And do you recall the ones that he counted, what denominations those were?
Mixed.
So there were no stacks of bands of 20s, there were no bands of 100s, there was just an accumulated different.
There were some that was just the same denominations, but with it being all mixed up like that, we took all the bands off and separated ourselves.
All right. When the money was dumped on the table, had Trooper Reichert gotten there?
Yes.
Okay. So he was there before the money was dumped on the table? Okay. And you said you think his first name is Zach?
Zach, yes.
Okay. So who took the rubber bands off the money?
I took several off. Cam took several off. I imagine Riker took some off too, because it was a lot of them.
Right. So you, on a large conference style table, y'all separated the monies from 1, 5, 10, 20, 50 to the hundreds. You decided that the best way to count this would be you start at the 1s, and then Welsh and Reichert would start at the 100s.
Correct.
Now, when you had the money laid out, were they all, obviously because there were so many 20s, how did you have them stacked? Was it all the 100s on top of each other, and then the 50s, and then the 20s? Did you have several rows of 20s? How did y'all figure out how to do that?
I wish you could see my cell phone on my work site, because I took pictures of it.
And that was going to be a follow-up question I did have.
My cell phone in Captain Rivers' office has pictures of all the stacks laid up there. Because the hundreds was just in a pile, not spread out
Right.
on like a card table type thing,
Right.
but just stacked up here. The 50s there, the 20s, they were stacked up best we could get them without falling all over the place.
Right.
And then the 5s, 10s, and the 1s, the same thing. It's just, but there was enough space between them where you're not gonna. We had
Mix them.
Yes,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to have them mixed up together.
So, once you had all the money laid out in the denominations, did you photograph it before you counted it?
Yes.
Okay. And that's on your state cell phone?
State cell phone.
And all the money you had laid out, that was all the money at that point, right?
At that point, that's all the money.
Because I know later on we have money over here, we have money over here, and then we have,
Yes.
yeah, so that's what to make sure. All right, so y'all begin your counting process. Y'all end up meeting basically in the middle of the 20s because there were so many. counted the 20s, what they had, y'all compared notes, and nothing was right.
The stack that they had already completed, once I completed all the rest of the denominations and we were right, I counted their stack of 20s and we were off.
Okay. Did they count your stack of 20s? Or you hadn't counted 20s?
They had already counted that stack.
Okay.
I was counting it and we were off.
Okay.
They were still over here counting actually the
Yeah.
20s. So I just wanted to go behind them and check their count to see if we were gonna be at least close, and we wasn't. So.
Alright. So once that first stack of 20s was counted and you realized, oh wait guys, I'm not getting what y'all are getting. Was that stack recounted?
Yes.
And did it coincide at that point, or?
That's when we recounted it into the 50 bill increments. We
Okay.
didn't physically count that whole stack again.
Okay.
We just started over from
You
scratch.
decided to
Just
say,
wipe that
hey,
off,
let's.
scratch that number off, let's go from the beginning.
Alright, so once you put 50 $20 bills in a stack, in stacks,
Stacked.
you went and counted it,
Mm-hmm.
Welsh counted it,
Mm-hmm.
and did Riker count it as well?
No, I do, no.
Okay.
Once they got that, that's when Cam and I counted our own stacks.
Okay, so would Cam count a stack and you go back behind him and count them and make sure?
I went through first. I
Alright,
got my total number, and I sat over there and got my little phone calculator and did the math. And then Cam went through and got his. We were in agreement.
so they were consistent.
At that point, yes.
Okay. Did prior to you telling Cam, hey, I've got this many 20s, did Cam inform to you how many 20s he counted? So basically, after you got done counting the 20s, hypothetically speaking, you look at Cam, you're like, all right, I had like 4,228, hypothetically speaking, not the exact number. And then Cam goes and counts, and he's like, "Yep, I got 4,200 whatever."
I'm not better than that.
Okay, so that's why. How did that come about? You already knew how many 20s you had counted, and then Cam says, "Okay, I'm done. This is what I counted." And did his number match your number?
Yes.
Or okay. And you remembered it was 4,301.
4,301.
Okay. All right, once y'all counted the 20s, everyone was in agreement, y'all filled out a tally sheet.
We already filled out the tally sheet because that's what I used to do my running totals.
Okay,
Now, I did have a little sticky note that I was writing down my the ones that was short. If I had this, did the math, and then wrote down my final number on my tally, and multiplied it out by denomination, and then you total them up at the end, and
Right.
you sign the bottom of each.
what'd you do with those notes you were taking?
I threw them in the trash.
Did you?
They said it's on drops in the trash can.
All right, so when y'all had all the 20s spread out, did you take photographs of all the 20s?
No, I did not. The only other photographs that were taken once we got all the money counted and bound back up into the 500 stack, we had them laid out, and I actually took a picture of that before I backed it.
Were there any photographs taken of the money prior to taking the bands off of them? Did you take a photograph?
I think the bands, yes, the photograph that I took initially when we got them separated, I think that photo was with the bands on the 20s. Yes. I think there were still most of the 20s were still band up at that time.
And they were separated.
Yes, by denomination,
To your knowledge, was a photograph ever taken of nothing separated and the money just stacked on top of each other?
yeah. At the very end or beginning?
Beginning.
No, not to my knowledge.
You did not take a
No,
picture.
I didn't think it's right.
And you don't remember seeing anybody else take a picture?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, there was photos taken once we had them out.
Right.
But
All right, so 4,301 total $20 bills. Do you remember the total of the money that was seized that night?
110 and some change. I don't know. 110,000 and for I don't want to.
You remember it being an estimate of 110,000?
Yes.
Okay. So at this point, once all the money's counted, everything's tallied up, photographs are taken, you place the 20s into 2 different evidence bags because it was that much that you had to place in there.
Yes.
And then the other bag contained the 100s, 50s, 10s, 5s, and 1s.
Correct.
You sealed the bags?
Yes.
You signed the bag?
Yes.
Did anyone else sign the bag?
No.
Did you date it, time it,
Dated it.
anything?
It's 7/29/01. The 21. I'm sorry. Oh.
It's okay. Sad thing is, I know what you meant.
Yes.
Did you put a time on there or anything, or you just dated it?
Just dated it.
Okay. So Baker filled out the information inside the computer for showing that evidence was being dropped, and then CEF was taking possession of it. Okay. He contacted Sergeant DeBose.
DeBose.
What's Sergeant DeBose's first name?
Page.
And Sergeant McFadden.
First Sergeant McFadden, Reggie, he was actually not even working at the time. His mother had some issues or something. He was completely, he was not to be contacted, basically.
So he wasn't contacted?
Mm-mm,
Okay,
no.
so Sergeant Paige DeBose was, and what does Sergeant Paige DeBose what's she do?
Sergeant?
I mean, does she work for a troop, or is she
Yeah, she's
CEF, or?
No, she is the declared as sergeant.
Okay.
She is basically
Troop 1 Sergeant.
Troop 1 sergeant, second in command.
All right.
And she is I don't know their exact office duties over there, but I see her a lot as far as the evidence side. So she's like the primary evidence custodian in Sumter Clarendon.
So she does mainly office work?
Yes.
Nothing, okay.
Yeah. Now
Nothing on the road.
they do, but not as much.
Right, well, they're predominantly in the office.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so you place the money in the backseat of your patrol vehicle? What kind of patrol vehicle do
I
you
got a
have?
black Chevrolet 1500 pickup truck.
All right, once you get in your vehicle, you put the money in your back seat and you go to CEF, which is located on Shop Road in Columbia.
Yes, ma'am.
You got to Columbia about 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
You went to the computer, typed in everything to show that it had been transferred CEF to GreenSafe. You printed out evidence labels. You said there were 3 evidence labels.
At least 3, maybe. I think I put one on the brown paper bag too, showing all item 1.
So the money that was taken from the Sumter office, you just put it back inside that brown paper bag
Mm-hmm.
after it was sealed in the evidence bags.
Put it in the evidence bags. I didn't want to be out there toting
Right.
3. These were large evidence
Yeah,
bags.
yeah.
So that was what we had. So I just kept
You
it.
used it, right? Well, that's what it was found in, right?
Exactly.
So, so you think probably 4 labels were
Yes.
printed. All right, and 1 for the Olive Garden bag or brown paper bag. You put the money in the green safe and you went home.
That's it.
And that was it.
That was it.
At that point, there was no other dealings with you and that money.
None. Never laid eyes on it again.
Tuesday, you're at the CEF,
Mm-hmm.
and you are talking to Sergeant Michael Allen,
Mm-hmm.
and he handles the cash deposits for CEF.
Yes.
You had knowledge he was going to the bank
Yes.
to get the monies counted.
Well, what DEA had requested is that instead of taking the actual cash, take to the bank, deposit it, get a cashier's check, they'll come get a check. That's the way they wanted to handle it.
Okay. Any idea why this wasn't handled on Monday?
No.
Did you have did anybody talk about it on Monday? On like what they were gonna do, and had you heard anything else about the DEA?
No, well, the DEA said, no, not.
And just you
officially.
personally, yeah,
Not officially. Now, well, I was scheduled to work Friday, but seeing I got called out, that's usually like an office rule. If
Right.
you get called out, especially on a long call out like this, that is your Friday.
That's right.
So I never come back to work on Friday in a normal, in the office. So the cash was there Friday morning, 4 a.m., 4:30, and sit there until Tuesday. in the green safe. So, and I never opened the green safe again, because I did come back to work on Monday, worked all day Monday, and technically worked all day Tuesday from 8 to 4. So, but Sergeant Allen took the cash out to go get deposited on Tuesday. And it may have been that he was in contact with the DEA and they had made arrangements to have all
That
that
was
stuff.
nothing you had any idea
No,
about.
I don't deal with that stuff.
How did you find out the DEA said take the money to the bank, get them to, you know?
Alan, he
Okay.
said that that's how they wanted to do it.
So was that the conversation you and Alan had on Tuesday when he was going to before he went to the bank?
No, that was, again, I don't get involved in that. I hearing him talking with Captain Rivers and them and just telling us, yeah, well, DEA wants to check. They don't want the cash.
Right.
So that means I got to take it to the bank and get a counter. Okay.
They prefer a cashier's check.
They do now.
All right, so went to Wells Fargo. You're unsure of which Wells Fargo. You said Captain Mendel Rivers.
Mhm.
Once you went back into the office and Alan was talking to Captain, and Alan indicated, did Alan or the Captain indicate to you that it was off, the count was off?
Captain.
And he indicated to you it was 157 $20 bills difference
Correct.
from what was deposited or counted at the bank. You asked, hey, do I need to call Cam? He was like, yeah, sure. You call Cam, and Cam was like, wait a minute.
Yep.
Hold up. Let's look into this for a second. Something's not right. Tuesday, you went back to the office. Nothing else. I mean, nothing else was spoken of at that point. You Tuesday night you talked to Cam, or Tuesday afternoon, you talked to Cam, and actually this is Cam. You indicated to him the count was off. Then he says, oh, by the way, I found a bag of money in my back seat. That was in the evidence bag. Hang on one second, let me see. Yeah, he's close. So we're trying to. So he indicates to you found an evidence bag in the back seat of his car. Did he indicate if it was in his seat or if it was in his
I
floorboard?
think he said it was in between the center console and his briefcase in the back, that he had slid in between it. Or it was not in immediate sight. He was cleaning out his car on Sunday and he saw it. And that's when he said his heart dropped.
And then he indicated to you that was the money that was found in the center
Center
console?
console of the violator's vehicle.
Cam indicated you was nervous and you was scared.
Yeah.
You didn't know what to do. You told him to call his chain of command,
Mm-hmm.
and he called Sergeant DeBose.
Started the best. That's his next level up.
Cam showed up to CEF to drop money on Tuesday. No, Thursday. Rivers sent Cam to Troop 1, then the headquarters, and he met with Captain Shelton, to your knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
That afternoon, Captain Rivers called you and said, hey, come to CEF. Explained because of the miscount or the off count, you were going to be under suspension without pay.
Mm-hmm.
He took your items from you and took you home. You talked to Cam on Tuesday,
Tuesday evening.
and y'all shared information about suspension. He had no idea you'd been suspended.
Correct.
Um,
And I had no idea he was officially suspended either. Kind of.
he just said, hey, it looks like I got a couple of days off.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, hey, well, me too. And that's when y'all discussed, I'm under suspension too.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think happened with the money?
We screwed up the count.
Do you think, let me ask you this, when they left the checkpoint, who had the money from the checkpoint to the office?
It had to be Cam, because the baker had gone to the jail to do the data master and the.
And is that you just kind of assuming that it was
Yes.
probably Cam because Baker was tied up with a DUI, so you don't really know that completely?
Riker was tied up with the wrecker, waiting on the tow truck.
Okay.
Baker was going to the jail. Cam was coming to the office because I told him to meet me at the office.
Okay.
And by the time I got to the office, the guy actually refused to breathalyze the data master or whatever. So it didn't take as long as he thought. They just booked him in the jail, come straight to the office. And the jail's not too far from the office.
The money that was inside the Olive Garden bag, were they all banded, or were there some loose bills?
Some loose.
Okay. And you took a photograph of everything laid out on the table?
On the table. A big wide shot and individual shots.
But you did not take a photograph of the money stacked on top of each other, banded up?
There were some bands still on there, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Again, I wish you could get my phone.
That's okay.
Show it to you.
Did you take that picture?
No, I did not take that picture.
Okay. That's why I'm asking about the money stacked on top of each
Yes.
other. Because there's a lot of money there that still have bands on it.
Yes,
So
I
that's
did
all.
not take any pictures of the drugs. I knew that, so that's how I knew that ain't my picture. And that, if you don't mind, can I see that picture? That may have been after count.
Hope it's not.
No, it ain't.
Because it's banded up.
There's the black bands. Yes.
Right.
Okay. Because that's about how thick they were when I banded it up for the final to put them in our evidence bag.
Do you have any idea who might have took that picture?
No.
That's okay. And if you didn't see anybody take a picture,
There, like I said, they were pretty much all. I say pretty much all of us were taking pictures of it.
right.
So
Did you take this photograph of the evidence bags?
no, I did not.
Okay.
But
Once you put the money in the bags, did you take photographs of the money in the evidence
I
bags?
did not.
Okay. Did you take a picture of any loose increment?
I mean, not that picture. No man. No man.
Is this a tally sheet you were telling me about?
That is, looks like Cam's tally sheet.
Does your tally sheet look like that as well?
It looks, well, this is not the one the tally the tally sheet itself, just the form that's exactly the same. But these numbers are not what we counted at the Sumter office. And that's not my signature. That looks like it was from the other bag
Okay.
that was found in his car.
So, but that would be kind of how y'all would
That's exactly how we do it.
do the denominations of how many bills you have of the ones to, okay. Was there any kind of report that you had to complete? Generally, if you get called out for a CEF, and you have to go to CEF, is there any type of documentation you do on your end other than going into the computer showing a transfer from
No, man.
whatever
I've
office?
sent Captain Rivers and Sergeant Allen a text, headed to Sumter. They seized over 100K with PWID THC. Captain Rivers said, be careful. That was the only correspondence that I had with them before the money was actually counted. Just to give them a heads up, they can go on Sumter.
Right. Plus it gives them an idea of what time you left
Yeah,
and how long it
that's
took you to get there and kind of semi-checks and balances. Did you take any money?
No,
Would you be willing to submit to a polygraph?
absolutely.
Do you have any type of medical conditions that might enable you or inhibit a proper examination?
No.
No high blood pressure, no
I
diabetes?
do have high blood pressure,
You
yes.
take medication
I
for
do.
it? Any anxiety, anything of that nature?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Obviously, we want to offer you a polygraph. We want one to be completed.
Okay,
Again, checks and balances.
absolutely.
Do you think, how long have you known Cam?
Let's see. I did his background when he come on the highway patrol.
Okay.
So since day one.
Do you
All his
know?
highway patrol career.
How long has he been a trooper?
7 years, maybe? Maybe 6 or 7.
Do you think he would take money?
Can you?
Yes.
No, ma'am. Not at all.
Do you think Reichert would take any money?
No.
How long have you known Reichert?
I did his background as well.
Okay.
Funny as it may seem.
That's all right.
Reason is, when I was on mate at the time, we were doing all highway patrol backgrounds for employment. And since I lived in Bishopville, anytime there was one in Kershaw, Lee, Sumter, Clarendon, I got it because I was the closest one.
Right.
So, yeah. But Baker, I do not know Baker at all.
To your knowledge, did Baker even count any money?
Yes, he did.
Okay. No one was left unattended while counting money.
Not at all.
All 4 of y'all were sitting
The
there.
only time that money was in a single person's hands after the count was mine on the way from Sumter to Columbia.
And the only other person's hands that was in alone prior to the count was Cam's.
From the road to the office, yes,
Okay. Was Cam already at the office when you got there?
yes,
Okay. Reichert wasn't there yet,
correct.
so it was just Cam there by himself.
And Baker. Baker
finally made
was
it
there when
there.
I got there.
I got you. All right. Out of all this information you've given me, is there anything that you can think of that maybe I haven't asked a direct question about as far as that night, the count, any statements that were made to you or around you that you would feel being important for this investigation?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's as complicated of a matter as this is. To me, it's a simple explanation. We messed the count up. That's it. It was miscounted.
Do you think anybody took the money?
No,
You solely believe it's just a screw up on you guys' part?
absolutely.
Okay. All right. Do you have any questions for me?
No, ma'am.
And nothing further that you would like to add?
No, ma'am.
All right. We'll get you set up for a polygraph.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll be in the next couple of days. Gotta call Columbia and find out when they have available.
Correct.
I do know you're out of work without pay. We want to try to get, we
Thank
want to be thorough and concise as we can be.
Absolutely.
And while the ball is in our court, we've got to deal with polygraphers too that already have schedules. So we're going to try to get everything worked out for you. If you have nothing further to add, that will conclude this interview. The time now is 10:44. All right, walk on out here.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and press the notification bell. Additionally, you can view our playlists and most recent videos. Thank you for watching.